Now, someone like Mircea Eliade, he's obviously studied in India and really tried to understand it. And he's coming away from it, say, oh, I can see what they're doing in those temples. They had this theory, which is as good as any other theory out there, right? That we're not exactly in reality, that there's a more real world that we're not in right now. And we're caught on this kind of like a hamster wheel kind of thing of time that just keeps spinning and spinning and spinning. And they're saying that there's a realm without time. And when they do their ritual, they're stepping back out, like with internally, maybe externally, they can't take their body exactly out of time. But internally, what they're trying to do is make their internal world step outside of time and exist in the realm beyond time, in the spiritual realm. And when you do that, he's saying you get renewed and purified, right? Because it's being stuck on that hamster wheel, running with all the concerns that we have, totally invested in temporary and in one sense, unreal things, that's corrupting how we perceive, how we experience. And so if you can step off that hamster wheel, step into the timeless zone, then when you come back, you're refreshed, you're renewed, you're purified of your programming to some degree. And you can move through this world with that otherworldly vision.
I like that.
It's a nice practice, it's a good practice, powerful practice.
Yeah.
I think that's why you do your thing. You go to Vrindavan every morning. That's what I see, right? You go to the bank of the Ganges River every morning.
I really do. I really do. That's my practice.
Yeah.
I'm at the Ganges. I'm dressed in a simple cloth. I'm holding conch shells filled with Ganges water, pouring them over my Lord. I'm bowing down at the feet. I'm in a whole nother universe.
Yeah, and according to these texts, that Ganges River it's not ordinary water. It's the water of the spiritual realm. It's from a timeless place, right? Or you're doing you're chanting your songs to Krishna in the mood of the residents in Vrindavan. That is the mood of the realm outside of time, and you visit it every morning, and then you come back refreshed and renewed.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, the daily spiritual podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York City, Kaustubha. Welcome to the show. It's Friday, March 7th, 2025. It's episode 1547. Just getting back into the groove, Kaustubh. Just getting back into the
Feeling good?
Well, I was feeling great, and then I got hit by the sleepy stick yesterday, and I slept for like a solid hour in the middle of the day. And I was like,
I don't worry about that stuff.
You don't worry about what?
When I get that jet lag, I just roll with it. I just you'll catch up. I don't fight it.
You're better than me. You're a better
You
man.
fight it? Maybe you are. I don't know, but that's just the way I play it.
What do you mean? You go to sleep or you stay awake?
If I need to go to sleep, I go to sleep. Usually what I find when I go back to the States from India is that I wake up very early, like at 1 a.m. or something like that, or even midnight, or even 11, because like you fall asleep at like 5 or 6,
Yeah, you roll.
I don't mind. I don't mind. Yeah, I can work with that.
Yeah, I did. I just took a nap. It was out cold.
Okay. Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. You're good.
I'm great. Everything's good.
Okay.
Mara went to the doctor. Checking up on her.
I heard.
And took her off a bunch of medication. We're happy about that. She had the sleepies.
Not so groggy now.
Super groggy.
Really out of it.
Yeah. You thought you were groggy, Raghunath.
She was super groggy. Anyway, we're into this. Welcome, everybody. What's up in Rishikesh? Same old wonderful?
Yeah, there's lots happening. Lots of people to talk to. Lots of people just saying, "This is it. This is Bhakti. Now I know what I want." Just bumped in on the way here. Bumped into Hot Scott.
Oh, Hot Scott's here from Philly.
Yeah.
It's a better name, Hot Scott, than Scott Plumbing and Heating. Hot Scott.
Heating and air conditioning, or
Yeah. Scott HVAC. No, Hot Scott. That's the name.
that's good.
Okay. Oh, cool. How's he doing?
He seemed happy. I was running here, so we didn't talk long, but we'll see each other tonight.
Nice. All right. All right. Let's get into the show, sir. Any announcements,
down.
Miss Mara?
Yeah, I do have some announcements. Today's Tell a Friend Friday, so check out our Sage community platform and share our new video promoting Wisdom of the Sages. You can like it and share it on social media to help spread the word about our amazing community.
Spread the good word.
Yeah. Also, tomorrow's Q&A day. It'll be 6 a.m. And if you have a question that you want answered, supporting members can post their questions under the Questions for the Host tab in our community chat at wisdomofthesages.com, or you can always email it to us also. And Sunday, Raghu's an interview with our friend Radikesh, and that'll be at 8 a.m. Eastern time, but it's also daylight savings on Sunday. So if you're not,
Does that mean I get to sleep in or I got to wake up earlier?
I think you got to wake up earlier.
Okay. What is
Yeah.
it? Spring forward. So if it's 5. No, it means I get an extra hour. Spring forward.
No, you spring forward, you lose an hour.
Yeah, I think
You
you
jump
lose
right
it.
over one
When
of
it's
them.
5 o'clock, I put it forward. Then it's, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I lose it.
Oh yeah, you lose
It seems like every time it's a switch, I'm losing it.
No.
Uh,
So that's this weekend.
yeah, so that's a Sunday.
How's that going to affect me over here? How's that going to work?
Oh, it's gonna get real crazy.
The show will be at 3:30 your time instead of 4:30,
Oh, that's good.
I think.
Spring
I mean, I guess it
forward.
really doesn't matter, but as long as it's not later, because that would be a problem.
I'll look into that and get back to you.
We'll
Figure
look
out
into
the
that.
math. We're not
That
that
one's
bright.
too
If you're new to the
complicated.
show, welcome. We're confused. But this is the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, our daily study of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. All right, and we're in a great place, and we have a great nugget for today. This nugget is by, oh boy, Mircea Eliade.
Mircea Eliade. Do you know who Mircea
Do you pick names
Eliade is?
specifically I can't pronounce?
No.
Let him wrestle with this one.
But you've probably heard of a book that Mircea has written.
Which book?
He wrote a book called Yoga, Immortality, and Freedom. You come across that before?
No, it sounds sort of cool.
It's kind of one of those real landmark books that, like in the academic yoga world, and it's commonly cited in academic works on yoga. It's kind of seen as authoritative,
Where is he from? Mircea.
He's Romanian historian of religion. He was also a fiction writer, a philosopher, and a professor at the University of Chicago. One of the most influential scholars of religion in the 20th century, an interpreter of religious experience. And he established paradigms in religious studies that persist to this day. But he definitely had a deep interest in yoga,
It also looks like he studied at the University of Calcutta, according to
Look at
Wikipedia.
that. Okay. Nice. So he wrote a book called The Sacred and the Profane.
The sacred and the profane. That sounds interesting. What's that about?
I believe it has to do with
Profanity. I mean, I'm
the
thinking
sacred.
all the knuckleheads we hung out with when we were teenagers, and then you have something like, bowing down before a holy altar. We could write that book. We could say, hey,
The Sacred and the Profane.
I know you got some ideas of what profane is. We can help with that. Let us take that section of the book. You guys write the sacred.
The Sacred and the Profane.
I think they have a dumbed down version of what profane is.
Really? I mean, you think why? What do you think it refers to?
Offering liquor to goddess Durga. That's the profane, perhaps. Common
Alright.
practice in Bengal.
The Sacred and the Profane.
There's a band. There's actually a band called The Sacred and the Profane, Tim O'Reilly says.
I always remember, there was a scene on The Sopranos. In The Sopranos, there's always like these mob guys, and they're always like mispronouncing different words or misapplying different words,
Yeah.
And there's a daughter of one of the mob guys, and she saw something in a film that showed like two symbols. And he said, "Oh, very good. You noticed that. Both the sacred and the propane."
Okay, Stu, where are you taking us this morning?
I'm taking you
let's
to
take this show up a
Mircea
notch.
Eliade and the sacred from his book, The Sacred and Profane. Hit it, Raghu.
I got high vibes because of my superfood hot chocolate I'm drinking right now. So I'm gonna keep the vibe high today, my friends. Here we
All
go.
right.
Rituals repeat the cosmogonic act. What? Rituals repeat the cosmogonic act. Look that up, Mara. The creation of the world, allowing religious man to live in sacred time, where reality is renewed and purified. I'm going to read that again for me. Maybe you guys
Okay.
got it. Rituals repeat the cosmogonic act, the
I think
creation of the world.
cosmological is more or less the same thing. Yeah. Related to the cosmos.
Okay.
A theory of the
Related-
origin of the universe.
A theory of the
Yeah,
origin
the
of the universe.
creation of the cosmos.
Rituals repeat the creation of the
Cosmogonic.
world, the creation of the world, allowing religious man to live in sacred time, whereas reality is renewed and purified. Okay.
Where reality is
Where reality
renewed.
is renewed and purified. So it's basically saying that spiritual rituals help us step outside of ourself as the all in all, so we can see a bigger picture of reality.
Yeah,
That's how I'm taking
I
it.
think so. And in doing so, be renewed and purified.
Mm. I mean, I see that in sense, like sometimes I'll get frustrated and you'll be like, hey, take it easy, slow it down. Like when you said, take a breath, Raghu. But it's really true, because you get caught up in the thick of the thin, and we even say that within this world to get a better idea of some knot I'm struggling to untie in my life or in my mind or in my heart. But we can actually take that bigger step back, take a breath, and just see the world as, boom. This is why I do my graveyard meditation, Prabhu. This is why I chant japa in cemeteries.
Well, what about your daily puja?
I'm saying, yeah, but that too.
All right.
That's a ritual. But I'm just saying, when I go chant my japa in the graveyard and I just see like these people born and die. Oh, and look, now the mother's dead. Now the mother's here. Like she wasn't there for 8 years and then she died. Oh no, look, a little baby had died too. And you walk in these old New England cemeteries and you just realize all these people had hopes, dreams, important, pressing issues, plans for enjoyment, stuff. They've collected a various amount of stuff and property, and then it's just like over. And when you look at the graves, it's like, oh, they only lived 48 years. They only lived 59 years, stuff like that. And it's a little shocking. It's a little shock. It's shocking to my temporary mind, to my temporary eye, but it is like eye opening. It's third eye opening to reality. And that's why it's good. It's third, like that. It's third eye opening.
All right. Yeah, well, I'm looking at this, and one thing that he's really speaking about is time. In other words, we tend to think that we're living in reality.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have been kind of like, in our Western world, largely. You know what? I'll tell you something, Raghunath. I think we were given a picture of ritual, particularly ritual where there's like a form that's being worshipped, or, like a puja, for instance, as thinking that's really backward. Now, of course, we were brought up in this mainstream religion, which was like doing a ritual every Sunday morning where they're apparently turning, wine
Water
into
to wine.
blood, and wine into blood, and a wafer into flesh, and then we were eating it. So like, if you want to paint a ritual out as being weird, we could have done it with that. I'm not saying that it is, but I'm just saying, who are they to judge?
Yeah.
But deity worship, that kind of archana, that kind of temple worship was seen as primitive, backwards, really off, really crazy, even like dark and almost like satanic was like kind of presented that way.
Sure.
Now, someone like Mircea Eliade, he's obviously studied in India and really tried to understand it. And he's coming away from it, say, oh, I can see what they're doing in those temples. They had this theory, which is as good as any other theory out there, right? That we're not exactly in reality, that there's a more real world that we're not in right now, and we're caught on this kind of like a hamster wheel kind of thing of time that just
Yeah.
keeps spinning and spinning and spinning, and they're saying that there's a realm without time, and when they do their ritual, they're stepping back out, like with internally, maybe externally they can't take their body exactly out of time, but internally what they're trying to do is make their internal world step outside of time and exist in the realm beyond time, in the spiritual realm. And when you do that, he's saying you get renewed and purified, right? Because it's being stuck on that hamster wheel, running with all the concerns that we have, totally invested in temporary and in one sense unreal things, that's corrupting how we perceive, how we experience. And
Sure.
so if you can step off that hamster wheel, step into the timeless zone, then when you come back, you're refreshed, you're renewed, you're purified of your programming to some degree, and you can move through this world with that otherworldly vision.
I like that.
It's a nice practice, it's a good practice, powerful practice.
Yeah.
I think that's why you do your thing. You go to Vrindavan every morning. That's what I see, right? You go to the bank of the Ganges River every
I
morning.
really
You go to
do.
Vrindavan
I really do.
You
That's my
really?
practice.
Yeah.
I'm at the Ganges. I'm dressed in a simple cloth. I'm holding conch shells filled with Ganges water, pouring them over my Lord. I'm bowing down at the feet. I'm in a whole nother universe.
Yeah, and according to these texts, that Ganges River it's not ordinary water. It's the water of the spiritual rest from a timeless place, right? And or you're doing you're chanting your songs to Krishna in the mood of the residents in Vrindavan. That is the mood of the realm outside of time, and you visit it every morning, and then you come back refreshed and renewed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
Beautiful.
a nice thing.
All right.
Yeah, Ambarish was doing this. We may get there today. He was
Okay, yeah,
a big king.
That's
Yeah,
how it's tying together. Ambarish had some rituals he was doing, rituals to
yeah,
connect him to his spiritual life. You're
yeah.
in a king. You're dealing with what's right in front of your face. You're dealing with the social problems. You're dealing with like imminent danger. Imagine being the head of a country. The first thing you hear in the morning is wake up, big problems, big problems. Like imagine who
now.
would want that job to be the president of the United States or the president of a country, a prime minister. It's like everything. You got to be really loving to deal with stress.
Yeah, there are people like that.
Yeah. And in these sacred kings we talk about, they've got to be able to deal with it all and be detached from it all somehow too. It's so interesting, huh? It's like an interesting tightrope we have to walk in this material world.
And here we have an example of someone who is doing it with this very elevated state of consciousness, and part of the way that he was maintaining that was through daily ritual.
Sure.
Okay.
Alrighty.
All right, want to get into it?
Alrighty. Yeah. So, Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. Before we start in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan and to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva vadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama sloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Agyana Tamarandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Midadam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Reading from the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 4, text. Well, we did 18 yesterday.
I don't know if we finished
Actually,
it,
no, we
though.
didn't. Okay, you know what? Let's read it. That's a big verse. This is
It's
a
a
verse
famous
that
verse.
is quoted in the Nectar of Devotion, right?
It may be. It's definitely quoted a lot.
Okay. Oh my God, Mayor.
What's the matter,
Superfood hot chocolate. I'm just relishing my morning drink today.
Good.
If you knew the powerful superfoods I put into this thing, I feel like a new man. I feel like I'm growing younger. If this beard turns like a beautiful shade of chestnut brown, you know this stuff's working.
Okay, we'll be looking out for that. I think if it's going to happen, if you spill some on it, it may turn brown.
All right. Maharaj Ambarish always engaged his mind in meditating upon the lotus feet of Krishna. This is what we're talking. You got frozen in time there, and then I continued with this. His words describing the glories of the Lord. Talking about engaging all your senses instead of just pulling all your senses in and meditating on nothing, which is it's a common phenomenon if you were to read a book on meditation. Think of nothing. Empty your mind.
Well, even if it's not exactly that, I mean, like the authentic ancient schools of yoga, like Ashtanga yoga, it was to turn your awareness in, right, and withdraw your senses.
Sure. Yeah. So here,
even Bhagavad Gita speaks about that, right? Like a tortoise, you pull your senses in.
So you do, but while you're pulling them in, there's a meditation, there's a focus. Okay. It's not just like an in on zero.
Yeah. But here he's also talking about there's other ways to practice yoga where you engage your senses rather than pull them in.
Sure. So Maharaj Ambarish always engaged his mind in meditating on the lotus feet of Krishna. His words describing the glories of the Lord. His hands in cleansing the temple of the Lord. His ears in hearing the words spoken by Krishna or about Krishna. I gave examples of all this while you were frozen.
Okay.
He engaged his eyes in seeing the deity form of Krishna. Krishna's temples and Krishna's places like Mathura and Vrindavan. He engaged his sense of touch in touching the bodies of the Lord's devotees. And by touching the bodies
in appropriate
of the Lord's
ways.
Devotees. In appropriate ways, yes.
We have to say that now. In the past, that didn't need to be said. Consensually, always consensually.
Always consensually touching the bodies of the Lord. You're like, come on, hey, Hare Krishna, how are you? Like that. He engaged his sense of smell in smelling the fragrance of the tulsi offered to the Lord. And he engaged his tongue, right? It's a nice minty type of basil-y herbal smell, the tulsi. And he engaged his tongue in tasting the Lord's prasad. He engaged his legs in walking to the holy places and the temples of the Lord, and his head in bowing down before the Lord. And all his desires in serving the Lord 24 hours a day. Indeed, Maharaj Ambarish never desired anything for his own sense gratification. He engaged all his senses in devotional service in various engagements related to the Lord. This is the way to increase attachment for the Lord and be completely free from all material desires. So people you can develop your own private little manasa, your mental worship rituals. And you can take it with you wherever you go. You don't need a big fancy altar. You don't need to be in you don't need to be in a church, a religious institution, an ashram in India. You can be there within your mind. You could be seeing Krishna, meditating on Krishna's feet, doing like an offering. This is all an internal meditation. You could be in the sauna doing this. You could be in the sauna. You could. Just right.
Good. Are you trying to rationalize your sauna time?
No, my sauna is good for my thumper. Are you kidding? Okay. As a matter of fact, after this show, I'm going into the sauna. I'm going to meditate.
I figured you might be. And here we're getting, again, what is this story? What's its purpose, and why has it been placed in this super essential text where the great sage Vyasadeva is kind of clarifying everything that he's ever written? And here we're hearing about a special type of yogi. Right, it came right out the gate, telling us that he was Mahabhaga, that he's greatly not just fortunate, but like greatly fortunate.
He's one of the haves. He's one of the haves of this world. He's got everything of the opulence of the material world. But
I suppose you could say greatly fortunate like that, but I also believe that greatly fortunate was also just on this in terms of his spiritual status. Yeah. But also it kind of came out right out of the gate, telling us that more or less he was Brahman realized, like, it mentioned that he saw the entire universe, like, and he kind of was ruling the earth, but
Yeah.
that he saw the entire universe as being insignificant as a piece of stone.
Yeah.
That's straight out of Bhagavad Gita. In at the end of the 14th chapter, when the person who's transcended the modes of material nature, Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate, and who's achieved that Brahman realization, it mentions that they see stones, pebbles, gold as the same. So it's telling us that you've read the Upanishads and these books about these great renunciates, great meditators who had achieved this state of awareness and oneness and peace. He's got all of that. He's there. But look at him. He may not be the stereotypical person that you think. He's a king. He's involved in all kinds of worldly business. And his meditation isn't this renounce the world and turn your awareness, towards the oneness or towards the impersonal. It's all personal. It's all it's engaging the senses, using the senses. Yeah, tasting, seeing.
It is very
hearing.
attractive because the world has some issues. It's very attractive to say, you know what? I'm walking away from this crazy place.
Yeah.
It's another thing to say, how can I see all these crazy things that God has put in front of me as a way for my growth? How can I see it as a puzzle to put together for my spiritual evolution instead of just saying, I can't deal with it. I'm out of here. And it's a common Kali Yuga issue, but not just like, I can't deal with this little problem. I can't deal with my spouse. I can't deal with my kids. I can't deal with so many people walk away from their good families. So many people walk away from a good job. And then they just resent or resent. They're bitter and they have to restart over somewhere else. We're not saying abandon responsibility. We're saying become super responsibility within your world of responsibility. Then you got to get serious about adding a secret internal life.
Secret.
It's a little secret. Sometimes
do you have a secret internal life that you're not sharing the rest of us, Raghu?
Oh, I do. When you're ready, I'll share it. But yeah, it's an internal life that people can't see. It's going on. You don't have to make a show of your worship, of your puja, of your. You keep a lot of these things private. You cherish them in your heart.
That's true. That's true.
But it is very attractive, and I think it's been. Unfortunately, immature devotees might take this as all these sort of hints towards renunciation as, I got to step away from actual responsibilities of this world. Okay. And then when they realize that even their spiritual path has a lot of issues they have to deal with, they want to go back to the material world, but in a different situation. So the path is to make us responsible, make us to grow, but it doesn't necessarily mean being a classic, what we understand as a classic renunciate, Tyagi, cave dweller, etc. You can be very much in this world, and Maharaj Ambarish is exemplifying this.
And what's ultimately illustrated through this Leela is that a great powerful mystic unfairly curses him. And in his humility, he doesn't even take offense at it. But the curse kind of backfires on the mystic. And the mystic has the power to speak to Vishnu, who, again, is the root of all existence, and says, please, release me from this curse that's backfired on me. And God himself says, and so this speaks to the power of the bhakti yogi, this other kind of person that maybe externally doesn't appear to be so deeply spiritual like the mystic or like the renunciate. We find out that his mystic power without even trying is far superior, because Vishnu himself is going to say, I've got no power here, right? I've got no power because my heart is owned by Ambarish. So if you're going to get free, you're going to have to go talk to him.
It's very sweet, isn't it?
It's both sweet. Yes, it's incredibly sweet.
It's very instructional. It's very instructional.
It's telling us, don't have the stereotypical idea of mysticism, mystic power, renunciation, yoga. The one who loves God, even if it's an old lady, doing a little puja up in her attic or something like that, she's the most powerful mystic if she actually has love for God, because she's got Krishna's heart right in her hands.
It's like my secret pranayam story.
Yeah, that's right.
You want to know the secret pranayams?
You have all kind of secrets, Raghunath, but no, you can keep
secret
them.
pranayama.
It's okay.
We're doing
You don't need to share it.
Shri Krishna Govinda Hari Murari. That singing to the Lord like that, that's the secret pranayama.
Secret pranayama.
It's all in my book, Kaustubha.
All right. Or the A.G.
All right.
Mohan?
A.G. Mohan told me. You want to know the secret pranayama of Krishna Namacharya? I'll teach you. You're already doing.
You're doing it.
Doing, he said. That is the secret pranayama. You give your very prana, Ishvara prananidan. You give your very prana to Ishvara.
Secret pranayama. Okay. All right. So I don't think we still finished this one, right? Did we? His legs are walking to holy places. 24 hours a day, he's serving the Lord. Maharaj Ambarish never desired anything for his own sense gratification. Did we read that?
He engaged all his senses in devotional service in various engagements related to the Lord. This is the way to increase attachment for the Lord and be completely free from all material desires.
And so this here, even like, you see, it's just painting deep spirituality in the language that to many people is counterintuitive. He's developing attachment, right? Like he's engaging his senses rather than withdrawing his senses. He's developing attachment rather than detachment. But it's because he's doing it in the spiritual side of the reflection, you know, like the original place. So
sure.
In spirituality, particularly in Bhakti, we want, you know, I may have shared this with you before, Raghunath, but I was reading this Encyclopedia of Yoga.
It's an old one or a newer one?
I don't know if there was. I don't know of any. You're thinking of the Puranic Encyclopedia.
The Puranic Encyclopedia, that was cool. That was something. If you look up the word whatever Arjuna, all the different times the word Arjuna was ever used. There's trees called Arjuna. There's the it's a color of a horse. Maybe it's the Krishna's Narayana Rishi, Krishna and Arjuna. Go on. It's not
whatever
you're talking about.
It was not that. It was a more modern book.
Okay.
I think it was written. I think the name of the author was Fernstein. And he did a good job on it. Like you know, he covered a lot of stuff. You know, which isn't easy. You know.
Sure.
And I'm sure that his knowledge of the broader yoga world is, you know, goes a lot wider than mine. But when he got into my field or our field, you know, the field of Bhakti, you know.
Yeah. How did he do?
Well, he definitely made one goof.
Tell me.
And especially because it's right in our lineage, right in our sampradaya. And he was commenting on the term ragatmika bhakti, ragatmika bhakti. So raga means attachment. Ragatmika, he defined the term as like ragatmika bhakti is bhakti in an immature state where you still have material attachments, right? Because that word raga is there. From all his yoga studies, he just probably put this together in his mind that way. But really, no. Ragatmika bhakti is the very advanced stage of bhakti yoga, where your practices are not at all motivated by I must do this if I'm going to advance.
Attachment
right?
to the mundane.
In other words, I like even myself, like I'll chant my 16 rounds of japa every day, not necessarily because I'm attached to it, but because I've taken a vow that I'll do it and that I know that it's good for me, so I do it. You know, it means I'm not on that level of rag yet, rag bhakti, where you do it entirely because you want to do it, because you're attached to doing it, because you love doing it. And so that's ragatmika bhakti, where your entire practice of bhakti is being driven by the taste that you have and the attachment that you have for it. So he said ragatmika, you can see he messed that up. But here we're reading about this super exalted bhakti yogi, Ambarish, and he's it's speaking in those terms, right? That this was the way to increase attachment. He's a yogi that's trying to increase attachment. And by increasing spiritual attachment, you're letting go of the material attachment automatically. It happens simultaneously.
It's like shelter, perfection of desire. Our first record, perfection.
Exactly.
Of desire. It's not like it's every spiritual community talks about desires causing your pain, desires causing your struggle, except for these new spiritual paths. We're like, desire is great, desire everything. You can have it all. Not that. It is
Okay.
not just about renouncing desire. It is about embracing your spiritual desires, embracing spiritual communities.
Desire
spiritual
that's
friendships.
beyond mundane sense gratification and,
Sure.
and selfishness and
That's
pure
the
desire
perfection.
born of pure love. Yeah. Pure divine love.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can have it all, Kaustubha. You just gotta want it.
That's right.
You're wasting time. You gotta wake up at 5. I wake up at 4. I wake up at 4.
Yeah, whatever.
I listen to these self-help guys sometimes. It's like it's all running a race towards it has no finish line.
All right. Well, let's run the race to the next verse.
Race to the next verse. Verse 21. 21.
21.
In performing his prescribed duties as a king, Maharaj Ambarish always offered the results of his royal activities to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is the enjoyer of everything and is beyond the perception of the material senses. He certainly took advice from Brahmanas, who were faithful devotees of the Lord, and thus he ruled the planet Earth without difficulty. You know, this reminds me of when I go to Udaipur with the students, or we're going to Jaipur this year. It's one of these things. You get to see how these kings lived, and these kings were great devotees. They were great devotees. Yet you go to their palace or you go to their fort, and you see, oh, I get it. They were just like running a country. They were running a country, running a huge city, but they somehow carved enough time outside where they had a serious spiritual life. And,
temple.
And so when I'm just, because we just got back from Jaipur, when I'm reading all these things, I'm thinking of Maharaj Jai Singh and the kingdom that he lived in, yet somehow everything tied back to Vedic lifestyle, Vedic living, the worship of Govinda. This is perfect timing for me to read this.
And we see here that the spiritual attachment that the previous verse spoke about is manifesting in material detachment. All of the results that he gets to his royal activities, and you can imagine for a king on his level, you're getting all kind of wealth and all kind of fame and all kind of power and influence. He's not enjoying it for himself. He's got a spiritual taste within himself, and therefore he's making it all an offering of it. You know,
Sure.
He offers all the results of his royal activities. Okay. 22.
And I'm just thinking now too, to the degree, because we're talking about Ambarish, but of course there were other kings that weren't necessarily pure devotee kings. So the citizens get the benefit of the spiritual potential, the spiritual, what's the word, acumen of the king. The citizens will get that benefit. To the degree that person's very focused on their spiritual life, they get that benefit. And in the same sense, in your family, as a parent, to the degree that you have high spiritual practice, high spiritual acumen, all your children will get that benefit. It will just affect them in the same way. We have our own little kingdom we're dealing with, don't we? The Kaustubhaville.
It's a pretty small kingdom.
It's a very small kingdom.
It's a
You
little-
don't have any subjects. You need
corner of the kingdom.
No, you have an influence. You have an influence. We all have a little bit of influence. Some huge influences. Some are influencers. Hey, influencers, here's your chance to actually spread some positive influence. Get connected.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Text 22. In desert countries where there flowed the river Saraswati, Maharaj Ambarish performed great sacrifices like the Ashwamedha Yajna and thus satisfied the master of all yajnas, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such sacrifices were performed with great opulence and suitable paraphernalia and with contributions of dakshin, that means like a little charity, to the Brahmanas, who were supervised by great personalities like Vashishta, Asita, and Gotama, representing the king, the performer of the sacrifices.
Yeah. So this is an example of how he's not only doing his own daily ritual, but he's creating these rituals that are kind of like involving all the citizens. They're all can kind of get involved, show up for this, see these large level spiritual ceremonies performed. and kind of rivet all their attention on, as we were reading from the Nugget today, everyone kind of gets the experience of, how did he say it? Be feeling renewed and purified, right? It's a chance for everyone to break. I've thought a lot about this too. Is it like, just like there's a principle in yoga that if you take 1 hour a day and perform a particular yogic practice or meditation, if you do it steadily and you do it day after day after day, it's cumulative and it becomes firmly rooted. And if you break it up, if you take a week off here and a day off there and 3 days off the following week, it doesn't take root. And in the same way, the negative impressions or the negative patterns of thought, if they happen day after day after day after day without ever being broken, then those negative patterns of thought become very deeply rooted. And therefore you break them up, consciously you break them up. And this is one way to break them up, is like you create this event. Hey, everybody, we're having a big event. Everybody come. Yeah, and we're gonna break this up. We're all together gonna invest our attention and our minds in connecting with God, and in a beautiful way, in a powerful way. And we'll all feel refreshed and we'll all feel renewed and purified through it.
I like that. It's a very methodical way to become God conscious. This Bhakti.
Build it into the culture.
Yeah, adding and then subtracting, adding the good and subtracting the bad.
Yeah,
that's what we're doing. Sometimes I come back from India and I want to just I want all day to, to be God conscious, but it's sort of like you got to pick an explicit time, like every day. This is what I can show up for every day, and you just
and then carry that through your day.
And then we'll carry through. And eventually, I'm looking towards my old age. Eventually, that'll get wider and wider and wider. Of course, it does bleed through the course of the day. And of course, then you want to add the evening with that as well. Have a little time in the evening. And the next thing you know, it's like 24/7. You're always thinking.
Even when the house chicken is like waking you up in the morning, you're there.
We got bird issues going on here. Bird issues.
It sounds like you don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Look, I don't want to talk about it. Okay, I got bird issues.
Yeah.
All right.
There, you got a message there. Okay.
Text 24.
Text 24. The citizens of the state of Maharaj Ambarish were
Oh, no,
accustomed.
I'm sorry. I think we're on 23.
Okay. In sacrifice.
Or we might even be before that. I don't know where we are. You tell me.
No, 23. In the sacrifice arranged by Maharaj Ambarish, the members of the assembly and the priests, especially Hota, Udgata, Brahma, and Advaryu, were gorgeously dressed.
Wow.
And they all looked exactly like demigods. They eagerly saw to the proper performance of the yajna, the sacrifice.
There's something in that too, right? Like we're all going to dress up, and then when you show up, everybody feels a little elated just because of the way everybody's dressed,
when people dress up, there's something like it means something special's happening.
Yeah, you can feel it in the air. You got the Oscars or that Met Gala or something like that, and that's more like, oh, I have to dress up because everybody else is dressing up, and I'm not going to look at, or I need to outdo everybody. It's not like that, but it's like, let's all show up glowing and happily. We'll dress for the pleasure of God. And we'll all kind of feel the buzz.
How fashion also has a place in Vedic culture.
It can all be engaged.
Because there is a desire. We might even say it's an innate desire of at least the material mind to say, I want to dress up nice tonight. I want to dress up, but I have nowhere to go. So there's these festivals that you dress up for, but it's not to, it might be initially say, check me out, check out what I'm going to wear. I look great in this outfit. But eventually it's actually, I want to dress up for the Lord.
That's when you break out that bright yellow stuff, Raghunath. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
Time for
but I have times where I just I want to put on tilak to please my deities before I put on my offering, I want to dress up for the Lord. I want to look nice for the Lord.
You break out your special vest that you wear sometimes?
Yes, thank you. My special kirtan vest.
Yeah.
from Mohan Lal and Sons in
As
Delhi.
soon as everybody sees you in that, it lifts everybody up a little bit. Everybody's like, "Oh man,
You like that vest, huh?
I mean that sincerely. You know, like when you break
I
that
know
out,
you
everybody's
do. I
like,
know you do.
"Hey, it's special. It's special." Yeah.
And Krishna is the best dresser, isn't he? What is that
Oh,
word
absolutely.
for Krishna as the best dresser?
I don't know.
Anyway, one of you guys know it out there. It means the king, the amorous dresses just to, I can't remember. There's so many, he dresses just to ignite the amorous feelings of love in the gopis of Vrindavan.
He's
Someone
most
write it on the
expert.
board. Yeah.
Some people, like, no matter what they wear, they look great, and they're always wearing
Yeah.
something different. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
And Krishna is he's the origin of all that.
Mara's like that. Text 25, 24. The citizens of the state of Maharaj Ambarish were accustomed to chanting and hearing about the
Okay.
glorious activities of the personality of Godhead.
The main thing.
Thus, they never aspired to be elevated to the heavenly planets, which are extremely dear, even to the demigods.
Okay. Very significant. You see, it's just Bhagavatam is just lining everything up and clarifying everything, tightening it all up. You know, these people, they're earthlings. In one sense, they're on a much lower strata than the Devas.
It's the ghetto compared to the demigods.
Yes, but because they're always they've tapped into the essence of all sound, the essence of all emotion, the essence of all teachings, and they're tasting it, that they don't even desire to go to the heavenly planets, where you kind of lose touch with that because it's so opulent and enjoyable. It means their awareness, their consciousness was situated on a higher level, a more elevated level than even the Devas.
Those who are saturated with the transcendental happiness of rendering service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead are uninterested even in the achievements of great mystics. For such achievements do not enhance the transcendental bliss felt by a devotee who always thinks of Krishna within the core of his heart.
That's a huge message.
It's a huge message. Like when Prabhupada wrote that book, it's a book to sort of like attract your mind and then blow your mind. You know what I'm talking about?
Easy journey.
Easy journey to other planets. It's like, what? It's so intriguing.
That one caught your mind.
Book.
You were like, oh wow!
I was like, easy journey. The other, really? It's easy.
How easy? Yeah, how easy? Well, it's easy when you're an empowered mystic.
Yeah, and then it dismisses it as it's easy. It's nothing. But the hard thing is pure devotional service. What? Cleaning the temple room floor is difficult? Yeah. The proper consciousness, it is.
But you know, here Bhagavatam is just helping us understand the gradations, what we're really meant to aspire for. You know, you can read a lot of these texts. Oh, maybe I should aspire to be a mystic. Maybe I should aspire for yogic powers. You know, but those who are saturated with the transcendental happiness of bhakti, they're not interested in that. Okay, it's created the help me understand the gradations of awareness, or the gradation of spiritual achievement.
Okay, the king of this planet, Maharaj Ambarish, thus performed bhakti, devotional service to the Lord, and in this endeavor practiced severe austerity. Always satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his constitutional activities, he gradually gave up all material desires. Not an ordinary politician here. Yeah,
and the commentators are going to mention that when it says this tapas, it means in the context of bhakti. You know, like, in other words, even like temple worship, you do so much. You know, okay, I'm going to gather these ingredients, and I'm going to wake up at this time, and I'm going to do this, and so like. You do austerity, you do it happily, you do it joyfully, but you do austerity that's in the context of, because normally when you say someone performs severe austerities, it's usually this kind of, in one sense, they're both denying the body, right? But like one is almost like torturing the body. This is like engaging the body, you know? I'm going to deny the body's want to not get up early in the morning to do this ritual, or, you know, I'm going to engage this. I had someone come up to me today. It was Marcus. I don't know if you remember Marcus, but he came.
Yeah, I remember Marcus.
So Marcus, he's here.
BhaktiYoga.com. BhaktiYoga.com.
Right. Yeah. So he's here right now.
BhaktiYoga.de.
Okay, German.
He's from
thing.
German, Marcus.
Yeah, and so
How's he doing?
he seems to be doing great. And he asked me today about like Vipassana retreats, because he's done some of that.
Okay.
And and I was saying I kind of admire people going for it. Like I admire a person that says, you know what, I want to experiment with bringing my consciousness to a higher level, and I'm willing to kind of like step into that world where I'm going to do something extreme, like not speak for the next 10 days or something like that. And I said, but and in those Vipassana retreats, he was telling me that it's not like you can chant Hare Krishna the whole time. You're not supposed to meditate on any mantra, nothing like that,
Right.
You're supposed to, he said that you're supposed to concentrate on your breath. You just 10 days just meditating on your breath. And my point was that's not exactly a bhakti practice, That's
Right.
But there are elements of that can be engaged in your bhakti practice. And so, I've shared this with you before, but like there's one time where when I was a young brahmachari, a young monk,
Yeah.
another young monk kind of joined, and he had come from a background, not like us, like punk rock background, but he had come from like a Eastern yoga background, right?
Yeah.
So he already had some background in this stuff before becoming a Krishna Bhakta. And so it meant he had done practices like Mauna, where you practice silence, and fasting as well. And so, he could feel the effects that it had on his awareness, but he was in a community that wasn't practicing those kind of things. And so
The Bhakti
he asked,
community when he got into Bhakti.
in the Bhakti
So
community.
he was into these type of renunciation before he got into Bhakti.
Yeah, this tapasya.
Okay.
And so, and in one sense, he was kind of missing it. Can I do this? Because it seems like if I try to do this, people are telling me not to do it. And
Yeah,
because he's
because
brand new,
there's some nice benefit from it too. Immediate.
he would feel the
you
benefit.
get.
Yeah. So I thought my guru's answer was sensitive. So he asked my guru, can I do these things in bhakti? Am I allowed to, or
What did he say?
is it frowned upon? And so he said, these aren't. We're practicing bhakti yoga here, and we can show you how to do that. We know the method. We've been taught by the acharyas how to do it effectively, and so on. And the taste that you have for these practices of tapasya or austerity, it's not like that's bad, but you can engage them within the context of bhakti. He said, for instance, rather than practice mauna, where you don't say anything, do this. When you do your japa practice every day, chanting 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna mantra, you take a vow that no word but the mantra will come out of my mouth in this period of time, right? Because a lot of times people get caught up talking and getting distracted when they're chanting their japa. They're not really getting deep into it. So this is a great way to take that desire to kind of control my speech and focus my awareness through it, and say, bring it right into your japa practice. Don't say a word to anyone while you're chanting your japa.
The japa walk that turns into a japa
The
talk.
japa talk. Yeah. And then he said, and for fasting, we have a Kaddashi every 2 weeks. We fast from grains and beans. You can do a complete fast on that day. Make it part of your bhakti practice. And so we can take here when it's saying that Maharaj Ambarish performed severe austerities, because he's a Krishna Bhakt, those austerities are always connected. It's not like he's holding his hand up for 15 years or, sitting in a block of ice or doing something
Because
like
what
that.
it does is the bhakti tapas brings you back to bhakti. It brings you back to love of God. I'm going to bring it back to Maharaj Jai Singh of Jaipur.
Okay.
Here was some of his tapas.
Right.
He just made a vow. He would only eat Krishna prasad.
Okay.
That's about. That means you don't snack.
That's right.
Everything is Krishna prasad. And that's the only thing he will eat. He will only bathe, cook with, and drink Ganges water.
Okay.
Bas, nothing else. And he carries these giant lotas, because
Silver lotus.
Rajasthan is not near the Ganges. So he had his people bring back huge tanks of
You
Ganges
see
water.
like someone, an elephant or like a a camel train, pulling these big
Elephant
things.
cart bringing these giant carts of Ganges water.
Yeah.
Imagine that. I mean, that's a pretty cool. If you were a king, that would be a cool austerity for a king. But yes,
It would be.
I like these things, and I do think there is those benefits. Matt, we should at least try that for a day at Super Soul, where we have a Bhakti Vipassana. No talking,
Okay.
no talking, but everything's sort of internal. Your job is
Bhakti
internal.
Vipassana.
Bhakti Vipassana. You're eating in silence.
That would be
Serving out
interesting,
silence.
Raghunath. That would be interesting.
Except
I'm
for
picturing you being
kirtan
like,
in the evening. No, I might be completely peaceful.
oh, you think? Okay.
Maybe.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
I think we're out of time today, Raghunath.
The largest silver vessels in the world, Henry says,
Yeah, I've seen them.
according to Guinness Book of Records.
You ready for some
Okay.
takeaways?
Yeah, Miss
Ready,
Mara,
man.
how are you? How are you feeling today?
Good, thanks.
Okay.
Slept well.
Slept well.
All right. Spiritual rituals help us step out of ourselves.
Okay, I think we need to turn
Okay.
up your volume a little, Mara. It sounds a little lower than Raghu's to me.
Miss Mara.
All right. Everyone in the cemetery had stuff and plans like us.
That's tough.
Step out of time internally during puja for purification and renewal.
Okay.
We've invested in the temporary and it's corrupting our vision.
Okay.
These are heartbreaking.
We don't step away from external responsibility. We cultivate internal spiritual responsibility.
That's better.
Here we go.
The Lord's heart belongs to his devotees.
Right there.
Mhm.
One who has love for God is a powerful mystic.
Okay. Yeah, he's more powerful than the powerful mystics.
Get connected to spread positive influence.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Get connected.
Even fashion can be engaged for bhakti.
Fashion.
Fashion. Turn to the left. Fashion. Were we
Turn
both
to the
singing
right.
the same song? Were you singing that too?
Yeah.
Those who have bhakti aren't interested in mystic powers or higher planets.
We are the Goon Squad and we're coming to town. What was he talking about right now?
I don't know. I never
Okay.
could understand lyrics when I was a teenager. I would just sing random words, oftentimes getting those words wrong.
And
And
dress up for the Lord.
Just
Okay.
up for him.
dress up. All right, I will. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us early in the morning. We're back on track here at Super Soul Farm.
Tomorrow's show is Q&A, but it'll be at the same time, 6 a.m.
6 a.m. tomorrow morning. No sleeping in, people. But Sunday you can sleep in, and we have a special interview I'm doing with Radhi Kesh Prabhu, astrologer. If you got some good astrology, Vedic astrology questions, you could write them to Miss Mara, wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com, or go to our website. It's a community-supported podcast. If you like what we do and you get something out of it, consider leaving a monthly donation. It helps this go. I want to thank all the community people who are making this happen. Very grateful. Good to see you, Miguel. Good morning. Clifford Dean, good to see that smiling face of yours. Ayush G. Casey Ho. Haribo. David Houseworth. Aaron Erskin's here. Good morning. And Arini showed up. Hot Scott and Rishikesh, or Scott the Californian. We got a couple Scots here. Ishvari Sundari, good morning. And we got a special message.
Yeah, the youth group registration. will
Youth
be
group?
Oh, yeah.
Saturday, March 15th.
That's youth group we're talking about. Youth group means the youth sage group.
Yes.
So if you,
It's
if you-
not exactly like a sage group, though. They have like a different agenda, but it's
Oh,
for your kids.
Okay. How old do they have to
Corona.
be? How old do they have to be?
They
That's
have
what
their
we
age.
wanna know.
I think it might be 9 to 15 or so. I forget, but we'll figure. We got to figure that out and get the details. Get the
Some
details.
parents supervising them. I don't want them smoking cigarettes.
Ishwar Sundari. You want to bring on
What is-
Ishwar Sundari? She'll know.
Okay.
Let's unmute her.
Brainwashing our children.
There we go.
Come on.
Let's turn
Henry.
on the music a little.
All right.
Brainwash.
Okay.
Ishwar
Ishwar
Sundari,
Sundari,
hi,
are you unmuted?
Haribo.
You could turn the music
Yes.
off.
Yeah. Haribo. Yes. So we're having two sage groups, ages 9 to 11, and then 12 through 15.
Oh, that's
It'll-
smart.
The first group, 9 to 11, will start in April for 4 weeks, and then in May will be the 12 through 15. But we might add some more time zones just because 5 o'clock p.m. doesn't work for everybody in Europe. So we're going to move registration to next weekend, not tomorrow.
And what'll happen in those groups? What do we tell our kids that they're going to be doing?
So
Yeah,
we're going to
what-
be reading, Ekadasi is leading this right now, and she's picked some Krishna books that are age appropriate for each group. And they'll be reading and forming discussions.
Can Raghunath join?
Raghunath
he's
may
like a huge
join
fan of those
because
books.
mentally he could be that age, yes.
He loves the stories. Whoa, hey.
Going this morning there, Easter.
In a good way. In a good way, Raghu. In a good way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I wonder
Okay,
if my
so
son
cool.
will join this thing. He's 12. No,
He's
he's 11.
11.
He's 11. He'll try to
He could
sell
get in
this
that
to
group.
everybody. He's going to try
Yeah,
to
why don't
sell
you see if
everybody.
Rooney will?
Shake down the kids.
And so they read stories and they discuss them with each other?
Yes.
And what's the
Sounds
youngest age
interesting.
that can join?
9. So it's 9 to 11, and then 12 to 15 for the second group.
Very interested to see how this works out. See if kids can. I would like to do a kids summer camp. That would be fun.
Parents come into the group with the kids? Ishwar Sundar?
I'm sorry. Yes, the parents, especially for the 9 to 11, we would like the parents to be there. I
Okay.
think maybe 12 to 15, they could or
Maybe
could
they
not
don't
be.
want to.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they should if they want to. And again, these are 2 pilot groups that we're putting together so that, we could enhance from there, change or leave it as is.
Love the
Right.
idea of this. We should get something for sweet baby Sadie. And all.
What's the age of itty bitty little baby Sadie?
Sadie? What, 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's figure
It's
that out.
definitely getting interest. I'm getting we're getting messages in through email and also like private messages asking me about the groups, and they're very excited.
Really? Okay.
Karuna's very excited, of course. So we're happy
Yeah.
to do this.
She's going to be the
yeah.
queen. I think maybe we should have Wisma Sages Jr. You know what I mean? Wouldn't that be cool? Wisma Sages Jr.
Oh, like 2 of them should do like their own podcast?
No, I was just thinking. No, I don't know what I'm thinking. I haven't.
I
really
think this
planned
is
it
that
out.
then. This is that.
This is sort of that. Yes.
Yeah.
Wisdom of the
Okay.
Sages.
How about for infants, like for really little babies?
really where I just sing songs to them and there's my face, my smiling face. Thanks, everybody. All the children are crying.
We're gonna say no. It always starts like this. Let me just
Sadie
keep going.
Sadie can hang with the 9-year-olds. All right. All right. You know, sneak her in. I don't think they're checking IDs at the door, Timothy.
They're checking IDs.
They're not checking
bouncers.
IDs.
We're gonna get carded.
If I shave, I could look a little younger myself. Okay, everybody. Thank you. Beautiful day for a beautiful day. It's a magical day today. Jai Shri Krishna. Let the magic continue to flow. And Maha Haribo.